The other day I watched The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio. I didn't watch it with him, you know, he wasn't in the room with me watching it, otherwise I might have been a bit nicer about it. What would I have done? Asked him what it was like working on Titanic, maybe. Anyway, watched The Beach. Came out in the year 2000, The Beach, Leonardo DiCaprio, directed by Danny Boyle, based on some book. Alex Garland was the writer. I just read that now, I don't know the book at all. It got some mixed reviews, people who liked the book didn't like the film, but that always fucking happens, doesn't it? It's like they're predetermined to dislike it. You know, what you should do is go and see films about books that you don't like. And then it's probably going to be better, isn't it? Fucking readers, book readers, they get on my fucking tits. They do. I gave up reading books ages ago. And that's kind of hypocritical, I know, because I'm a writer. I write books. I've written 11 novels. I've self-published on Amazon. I don't make a lot of money out of them. And my 11th novel 2 days ago. But I love to write. I'm not so much a reader. And people might think that there's a flaw in that. You know, Stephen King said, if you want to learn how to write, read. Okay, Stephen King. What do you know? What does Stephen King know? Yeah, you know, he thought The Shining was a shit film. What an idiot. Anyway, I'm being slightly ironic there. I don't want to diss Stephen King. I don't want people to think... You know, I will diss things that I think need dissing, like Christopher Nolan, for example. I think he's one of those rare things where his popularity is kind of deserved, actually. It's not disproportionate to his talent. So there, I'm being nice about it. I don't like to criticise films, you know, I love films. I watched The Beach, I enjoyed it. But my problem with it is that I enjoyed it because I enjoy films, you know? No matter how bad they are, no matter what they're about, you know, I'll watch anything. From a Carry On film, to a fucking Christopher Nolan film, to a Disney film, you know, anything and everywhere, and you know, and I will give all films a chance. And I find that most films have something at least about them, at least one or two things about them that make them worth watching, even if it's to go, well, that was a load of shit. In fact, I never do that. I always go away thinking, well, I liked this about the film. I'm usually quite positive, but these videos aren't necessarily always going to be. And my problem with The Beach was that none of the characters, not one of the characters in the film, was remotely likeable. And that's okay, you know, Hateful Eight is based on that kind of premise, and that film works with a bunch of unlikable people. It's a really good film. But The Beach, the problem with The Beach is it's a drama. It's a drama about people, about them learning about themselves and about their relationships to each other and how they betray each other, how they don't support each other and all things like that. And the problem is, because I didn't care about a single one of the characters in there, not even the pretty girls, which is unlike me, to be honest, I found the drama was not remotely compelling. It wasn't remotely interesting. I didn't give a shit about the bad things that were happening to the people. And in fact, the characters weren't dislikable enough for me to enjoy them going through bad things. It wasn't even like that. The characters were so sort of bland. They weren't likeable, but they weren't horrible. So I didn't care. And I think you're supposed to like Leonardo DiCaprio in the film. You sort of, because it's Leonardo DiCaprio, you're supposed to like him because it's Leo. You know, despite the fact that the character itself is a fucking cunt. Come back to Bark today. Sorry, I'm checking my texts. I don't get a lot of messages. And I think it's because people in my life know that I'm shit at that. You know, I don't respond. I'm not a chatty sort of person, which might seem a bit weird considering how much I like talking to the camera, but I'm not the kind of person, because I enjoy doing this stuff. You know, I'm a writer and I'm a filmmaker and I'm a film critiquist. In fact, I don't critique films really at all. I don't consider myself a critic, because critics are dickheads without exception. Without exception. You know, a critic can just stand up and say, that film's shit because it doesn't have a 3-act structure. And everyone's supposed to go, and nobody goes, fuck off. Nobody actually seems to criticise critics, which pisses me off. It seriously pisses me off, because most critics don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They'll criticise a film for having too much dialogue, saying, oh, well, you know, what about the show don't tell rule? It's not a rule. It's not a rule. It's a guide. It's a piece of advice that you can take or leave. It's a fucking choice. You should not be allowed to criticise a film for not using a guideline. You know? It's all about fucking choice. And the problem with critics is that They think there are rules, and there aren't. There's not a single film critic, not a single criticism I've seen of a film, a serious, you know, actual criticism, not the silly ones that I do for a joke, really. But there's not a single criticism I've seen or read about any film ever by anyone that has been in any way valid at all, ever. It's never valid. It's always personal or professional. Either way, it's wrong. And I know I'm not coming across as someone with an opinion. I'm coming across as someone with a gripe. You know, I'm coming across as someone who is looking at a profession and damning it for its very purpose for being there. And that's because that's exactly what I'm doing. But that's why I'm saying who criticises the critics, because in itself it's a self-imploding sort of position to put yourself in, because if you're going to criticise the critics, then you need to be able to criticise yourself for being a critic. It's a catch-22 in a way, which is probably why the position doesn't exist. It's probably why critics don't have critics, because to criticise a critic, it's like punching someone for being a physical abuser. It's sort of self-contradictory. So anyway, The Beach. You know, it has a lot going for it. It's beautifully shot. It's well made. It's got great actors in it. Tilda Swinton. She's fantastic. She's always fantastic. Always compelling. She's got that something in her face, something in her eyes just makes you go, oh, tell me a story, girl. And there's a vulnerability as well, especially when you see. We need to talk about Kevin. She does vulnerable so well, and even in Doctor Strange when she plays like the ancient one, and she's supposed to be the master of. She's the magic supreme person. I forgot what they call it now, and yet she still comes across as a little vulnerable because she has to, because she is. You know, because she has this dark secret. So anyway, The Beach. You know, I still watch the film to the end, and it's not the first time I've seen it. I've seen it before. I've seen it before and not particularly been wowed by it. I didn't dislike it. You know, I don't generally dislike films, unless Christopher Nolan made them. Batman Begins. I like Batman Begins. It's too long, 88% too long, but, you know, it's the one film of his that I actually like. The other two are just bullshit, horse shit, dog shit, cow shit, pig shit, human shit. They're every kind of shit that exists. And I will maintain to my dying day. I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet. I'm looking forward to doing a video on Oppenheimer. And I'll be reasonable. I'll be reasonable. But the thing is, the strange thing is, Christopher Nolan's films all suffer from the same thing. They're boring. You know, and I've said this before, I can't believe I've gotten to Christopher Nolan again, and I'm probably going to mention him in every one of these videos. I have a plan to do that, actually, I think. He's a singularly remarkable filmmaker because his films contain great actors, they contain amazing special effects, they're spectacular looking, they're beautiful.